Today's lesson is going to be on special factoring patterns, and we've got sum of two cubes, okay? And we're also going to do difference of two cubes. So if we ever have two cubes being added together, then we're going to factor it using this pattern given here. And so what we need to find first is the base of the cube numbers. So cube number is a number that you get by multiplying it by itself 3 times. So for example, 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. So 125 is a cube, okay? Or 3 times 3 times 3, that's 27. 27 is another cube. So we're going to be working with cube numbers here and also cubed expressions. So for example, x to the third power would be considered a cube because x to the third is the same as x times x times x. Okay? So the first thing we need to check is to see if we have a sum of cubes. Notice here we have x to the third plus 8. Now 8 is a cube number because that's 2 times 2 times 2. Okay? Another way to check the number is just to raise 8 to the, and then I'm going to do 1/3. So 1 divided by 3 is 2. So the cube root of 8 is 2. Okay? So notice here, this can be rewritten as x to the third power plus 2 to the third power. You see here in the algebraic expression, we have a cube added to another cube. We take the base, a and b, and put it in a small parentheses here. So here we're going to go ahead and put x plus 2 inside the binomial. Notice that our next polynomial is going to be 3 terms, okay? So to fill in the second parentheses, we're going to go ahead and take the a and square it. So in this case, it'll be x, and we're going to square that. So it'll just be x squared. Now the pattern says that we need to subtract here. We're going to put a minus sign there. And then we have to multiply a and b together. So whatever a and b are in here, that's what we're going to multiply. So in this case, it'll be x and 2. So x times 2 is 2x. And finally, for the last term there in the parentheses, we're going to take the b term and then square it. So we're going to take this 2 and then square it. So in other words, 2 to the second power is 4. And that's it. If we were to multiply this out using the box method, we would end up with x to the third plus 8. Notice here we have 2 times 4 is 8, and then x times x squared is going to be x cubed. Everything else in between will cancel out. Okay? So that's how you do that one. Let's do the rest now. So notice here we have a variable to the third power, so that's just going to be x to the third power plus what to the third power here? 27 is what number to the third power? So if I wasn't sure, I wanted to use my calculator, I would just do 27 to the 1/3 power. So let me just do 1 divided by 3 in the parentheses there. And that's 3. Okay? So this would be x to the third plus 3 to the third. Now that I have the bases identified, I can go ahead and start my pattern. So inside the smaller parentheses, I'm going to have x plus 3. Notice here how it's just the bases. I don't have any exponents inside the binomial here. It's just x plus 3 without the 3 exponents, okay? Next, we're going to go ahead and fill in the second parentheses with the trinomial. So remember, the pattern tells us just take the first term, a, and then square it. So in this case, x is just going to be squared, so it's just going to be x squared. Remember, the pattern says it's going to be minus. So go ahead and put minus there, and then multiply these two. 3 times x is 3x. And then the last term is going to be plus. And then we just take the second term inside the small parentheses and square it. So 3 squared is 9. Again, check your work. All you have to do is multiply the first term with the first term here. So that's x times x squared is x cubed. And then 3 times 9 is 27. Okay? Just make sure that in between here you have a negative, and then you multiply those two, and that's what goes in there, negative 3x. So let's try this one. Actually, you guys try it. Hit the pause button, and then try it out on your own. So, this is going to be x to the third plus 4 to the third. Okay, again, 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. Okay? So that means my small parentheses here is going to just have x plus 4. And then in the larger parentheses, I'm going to have x squared minus, multiply these two, that'll be 4x. And then square the last one here. So 4 squared is 16. Okay, check your work. X times x squared is x cubed. And 4 times 16, 4 times 16 is 64. Okay, next one here. Notice here we have a number here now. So 8 is also a perfect cube. So this is going to be 2x in parentheses to the third power. Notice if I multiply 2x times 2x times 2x, I will get 8x cubed. Okay, plus, and then 27 is going to be 3 cubed. So in our small parentheses, again, we take the number that's being raised to the third power. Right here, we're just going to go ahead and put 2x plus 3. Okay? And then we're going to fill in the third, the trinomial here. So again, we're going to take 2x and square it. So this 2x here, we're going to square it. So 2x times 2x is 4x squared. You can check your work by multiplying 2x times 4x squared. Does it give you 8x to the third power? Yes, it does. Okay? And then we're going to put a minus sign and then multiply these two together. 2x times 3 is 6x. And then 3 squared is 9. Again, check your work. Multiply 3 times 9. Does that give you 27? Yes. Okay? All right, guys. Now, what about difference of cubes? Well, same concept, okay? We're still going to have a binomial times a trinomial, except this time the binomial is going to have minus in between, and the trinomial is all going to be positive, okay? So let's jump right in. So notice here we have x to the third minus 1. So we're going to go ahead and write it as powers of 3. So the x is already written that way. So it's x to the third power minus, now what about the 1? Can I write that as a power of 3? Is 1 to the third power still 1? Is 1 times 1 times 1 still 1? Yes, it is. So that means that's how we write it, okay? So now, why do we want to write it this way? Well, because that will allow us to see what the bases are. The base is x and 1. And so we're going to go ahead and put x minus 1 inside the binomial. Okay? For the trinomial, we're going to go ahead and follow the pattern. So notice everything's going to be positive here. So all we have to do is square it, multiply them, and then square it again. So we're going to square the first term. That's going to be x squared plus, and then we're going to multiply these two terms. X times 1 is x. Now don't let the minus sign confuse you. We're just multiplying the x and the 1. Okay, so it's just x. And then finally we're going to square the 1. So it'll be just 1 times 1 is 1. Okay, look at the next one. So 343. Let's go ahead and calculate what the cube root of 343 is. Okay, now I can play around with it. I could do 7 times 7 times 7. And take a look. That's what it is. Okay, another way you could have done it was just say, okay, 343 to the 1/3 power is 7. So I know that this is going to be 7x in parentheses to the third power minus, now what about 216? Well, 343 was 7 cubed. 216, let's see if that's 6 cubed. 6 times 6 times 6. Yes, it is. So that's going to be 6 cubed. Okay, now the reason we put this in parentheses is because notice here we are multiplying each of these 3 times by itself. So 7 times 7 times 7 will give me the 343. And then x times x times x will give me the x cubed. So I need to put what I'm multiplying by itself 3 times inside the parentheses. Right here, since I only have one term here, I don't need to put it in parentheses. So, binomial times a trinomial, the pattern is going to be 7x minus 6. And then we're going to square this one here. So we're going to do 7x times 7x. That's going to be 49x squared. Remember, it's going to be plus sign here. And so it's going to be 7x times 6. That's going to be 42x. And I didn't give myself enough room here, so I'm going to white this out. And then finally, we're going to square this. 6 times 6 is 36. That's your answer. Okay? Moving along. What about 125? 125 to the 1/3 power, because I'm trying to find the cube root of it, is 5. So this will be 5x in parentheses to the 3rd power minus 1 to the 3rd power. We already did the 1 up here, so we know that 1 to the 3rd power is 1 still. So we can go ahead and do a binomial times a trinomial. I'll give myself more room now. And so this will be 5x minus 1. And then we're going to go ahead and square this. So this will be 25x squared plus, now I'll multiply these two here together. 5x times 1 is just 5x plus, and then 1 squared is just 1.